Today's show is presented by Magic Spoon. Go to magicspoon.com/chat for the tastiest, healthiest, and most nutrition-packed cereal out there on the market. What's going on with the Boston Celtics head coaching search? A lot. Brad Stevens is in charge, and he's getting closer and closer, seemingly, to making a hire for his replacement. According to Woj, the Celtics have requested second interviews with 3 candidates. Those candidates are Chauncey Billups, Ime Udoka, and Darvin Ham. Brad Stevens, as I mentioned, is running the search for his successor, taking over as general manager after Danny Ainge stepped down as the president of basketball operations, and Stevens, of course, going to the front office after being the head coach for this franchise over the last several seasons. Here's what Brad Stevens had to say about trying to find his successor. We obviously have a really good foundation, and you have very talented young players, so I think that's a good place to be, and then it's about finding the right fit. There are near-term decisions that can help you improve and longer-term decisions that you have to make with the idea of being in the mix. And ultimately, we want to be in the mix. This is a really desirable job. The Celtics have 17 championships in the NBA. That's tied for the most in NBA history alongside the Los Angeles Lakers. You have 2 star players in Jason Tatum as well as Jaylen Brown. And ownership is always willing to spend to put a really lethal lineup on the floor, giving that organization an opportunity to compete for championships year in and year out. So really the Celtics and Brad Stevens can't get this search wrong. They have to be able to identify a desirable candidate, one who's going to be able to help lift this franchise to championship ranks, because everything is there, everything is laid out for this coach to be successful. So who do you think should be the Celtics' next head coach taking over for Brad Stevens? A lot of really promising names that Stevens is looking to interview, requested second interviews with. Be sure to leave those names in the comment section down below and let me know who you think should be the Celtics' next head coach. Coming up, our updated Celtics head coaching hot board based on recent reports as Brad Stevens is seeking interviews with a couple of candidates, but also who we think are the most desirable and best candidates currently right now on the open market. Number 5, I want to kick off this list with Juwan Howard. Now, I think the probability and the possibility of Juwan Howard leaving Michigan for the Celtics is very, very low. That's why I rank him at number 5. And previous reports indicate that Howard probably not going to leave Michigan. Why I do like him as a candidate, though. Played 19 years in the NBA after being a part of the Fab Five at Michigan. He coached under Eric Spoelstra, who I think is the best coach in the NBA right now. And I'm really, really impressed with the work that he's done at Michigan, both recruiting and his development with players. The big question for Brad Stevens and the Celtics front office, ownership, this entire organization, Juwan Howard has said, look, I don't plan on leaving Michigan, but can you change his mind? Can you sit him down and say, Juwan Howard, look, you led Michigan to the Elite Eight last year. You almost made it to the Final Four. If it wasn't for that final second loss to UCLA, this is arguably the best job in the NBA. You're in the college ranks right now. You spent nearly 2 decades in the NBA as a player, much more time also as a coach too. You already know that this gig is legit. Leave Michigan, come to the Boston Celtics, and take this head coaching position because we're going to give you 2 superstars to build around in Jaylen Brown as well as Jason Tatum. Before we get to the rest of my top 5 Celtics head coaching candidates, I need to take a bite of some Magic Spoon cereal to help power me through the rest of this episode. Now, what's funny is that a couple years ago, I was pretty fat. I got up to like 215 pounds at the end of college because I was eating cheap cereal late at night. I wasn't working out, didn't know anything about proper nutrition, dieting, or supplementation, anything like that. And I had to cut out cereal out of my diet, which really sucked because, let's be honest, who doesn't love cereal? Then I came across Magic Spoon, and it totally changed my life. It is the tastiest, healthiest, and most protein-packed cereal out there on the market right now. And you can get $5 at checkout by going to magicspoon.com/chat or use the link that's in the description of this video. Per serving, there's 0 grams of sugar, 13 grams of protein, only 4 net grams of carbs, and only 140 calories. The best-selling flavors include cocoa, fruity, and peanut butter, which is my personal favorite. And here's the best thing. It's healthy and nutritious, keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, low in carbs, and also GMO-free. So use that link at the bottom of your screen to grab a variety pack today of some of these flavors from Magic Spoon. You use that link at the bottom of your screen or the link that's in the description of this video and $5 at checkout. I'm telling you, Can't go wrong with Magic Spoon. Peanut butter is my personal favorite, but the litany of flavors from Magic Spoon are phenomenal. And the best thing is, it is definitely tasty, most importantly healthy, and it'll help you slim down just like I did back a few years ago. Number 4 on my list for the top Celtics head coaching candidates right now, Rick Carlisle, former coach of the Dallas Mavericks. Obviously, he has a lot of experience. I think he's done tremendous work as a head coach, both with the Indiana Pacers and his time with the Dallas Mavericks. According to The Athletic, he is looking to find a gig right away. And according to reports, he kind of left the Mavericks because he was clashing heads with Luka Doncic. According to the Boston Globe, though, Rick Carlisle not really expected to be a top candidate for this vacancy. But I have him on this list because he has familiarity with this organization as well as Boston because he won a title as a player in 1986 with the Celtics as a shooting guard. Going back to that, knows the franchise really well. Won a ring with the Celtics as a player. He has a title as a coach with the Dallas Mavericks back in 2011 when Dirk Nowitzki took down LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, as well as the Miami Heat. And he has experience coaching stars. What do the Celtics have? 2 stars on the roster right now to build around with Jaylen Brown as well as Jason Tatum. And I know that some reports indicate that Carlisle isn't going to be a prime candidate for this job. But the Celtics and Brad Stevens have to do due diligence and at least interview a guy who has won a bevy of games throughout his career and really has put together a very, very impressive resume as a head coach. And if they don't, I think that's a knock on this coaching search right now led by Brad Stevens, because when you're looking for candidates for a job or a coaching vacancy, interview some of the most talented candidates out there to see at least what they bring to the table and gauge their interest at the very least. So what is your level of interest in Rick Carlisle? Get your votes in, get into the comment section, let me know. Scale your level of interest in Carlisle for me from 1 to 10 in the comment section down below. Few names who the Celtics have requested second interviews with coming up. Let's start off with Darvin Ham. He's currently an assistant coach with the Milwaukee Bucks right now under Mike Budenholzer. He's been with Bud going back to his days with the Atlanta Hawks. Ham has interviewed over the last couple of years for several head coaching jobs. Played in the NBA for 8 years with 6 different teams, so he has experience both as a high-level assistant as well as a player. Worked with Bud in Atlanta and Milwaukee, as I mentioned, but the key part there has experience coaching headline players, but also in big games alongside Bud, because the Hawks as well as the Bucks have played in a bunch of really, really big playoff games. I also really like his experience too. Like, this is a guy who's been coaching in the league, in the NBA, high-level basketball since 2011. He's a Texas Tech legend. Texas Tech had reached out to him about an interview to take over for Chris Beard. He elected not to take that job. So when it comes down to his coaching resume, as well as his resume as a player, I like it. He's been with the Lakers, he's been with the Hawks, he's been with the Bucks, and I think that experience certainly bodes well for him being a possible candidate for the Celtics job as well. Make sure you're subscribed to Celtics Today by Chat Sports, as we're getting closer and closer to continuously just growing this channel like crazy. That's a big thank you to all of you for tuning in. And the reason why you have tuned in is because we bring you the latest news and rumors. When the Celtics hire a new head coach, we'll, of course, break it down here on Celtics Today as well. So go to youtube.com/CelticsTV or hit that red subscribe button for the best Boston Celtics coverage here on YouTube. How about Ime Udoka? Really, really hot candidate, and he's been a hot candidate over the last couple of years, and it's between him and the number 1 guy on my list, who I think are in the mix for this job. Udoka, very familiar with some of the key players on the Celtics roster. Why is that? He coached Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart when they played for the U.S. national team back in 2019. And those 3 guys have raved about Udoka. Spent 2012 to 2019 as an assistant under Greg Popovich. You can make the argument that with Phil Jackson, like, Popovich has been the best coach in the NBA spanning the last, 3 decades? And according to Chris Mannix, Udoka is the type of coach that Brad Stevens wants. According to previous reports, the Celtics are looking for a black head coach. They're looking for a leader, a younger guy who can kind of gel and familiarize himself with that locker room. Udoka really fits all of those qualities, as Mannix mentioned, and I really don't think that at the end of the day you can go wrong with this hire. He's a young guy. He knows this roster. with Tatum, Brown, as well as Marcus Smart. He has a bevy of experience. He coached under Pop, coached under Brett Brown, just coached with the Brooklyn Nets this past year with Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni. So he has experience coaching stars as well. Really, really like Udoka, and I think he is firmly in the mix to land this job with my number one guy, and that is Chauncey Billups. From the get-go, I have said here on the channel that the Celtics should hire Chauncey Billups. I like his bevy of experience because in the past, he has gone after general managing duties. He's been an analyst on ESPN. Now he's an assistant under Ty Lue. Ty Lue has made some masterful adjustments throughout this postseason against the Mavericks and in that second round series against the Jazz, and I expect him to do that against the Suns as well. So it's a good person to learn under for Billups. And what it tells me is when he's looking after these front office duties, he's an analyst and assistant, all of that experience kind of like molds together for him to be a prime candidate for this job. And he's also had to stay in line, stay in tune, and stay on top of how the game is played, how the game is coached, how the game is talked about, how the game is scouted from all of those different levels. And his resume as a player, it blows you away. 5-time All-Star, he was a cutthroat, cold-blooded killer. He was the NBA Finals MVP back in 2004. He was the Pistons leader of those teams that were making consistently deep playoff runs before winning that title back in 2004 against the Lakers. And the fact that he has that experience as an analyst means he talks about the game. He scouts the game. He wanted to be a general manager. So he kind of has an idea of where the game is headed, where the game is at right now from a stylistic perspective. Now he's an assistant coach, coaching guys like Paul George as well as Kawhi Leonard. You cannot go wrong with Chauncey Billups as the next head coach of this franchise. I think he molds and gels well with Tatum as well as Brown. That's why he is my number one candidate on this new Celtics head coaching hot board. What do you think, though? Make your pick. You going with Chauncey Billups? If so, type B. Or are you going with Udoka? Type U in the comment section down below. To recap, top 5 candidates right now on our new Celtics head coaching hot board. Number 5, Juwan Howard, current head coach at the University of Michigan. Rick Carlisle, former head coach of the Dallas Mavericks, in at number 4. Darvin Ham, assistant coach with the Milwaukee Bucks, at number 3. Ime Udoka, assistant coach with the Brooklyn Nets right now, at number 2. Chauncey Billups, atop this list at number 1, current assistant with the Los Angeles Clippers. One more time, go to magicspoon.com/chat. You get $5 off at checkout. I'm going to continue to eat cereal, and you should too.